Another Premier League season has ended, bringing with it all sorts of speculation for the summer. In this little mini-series, we're going to look at what comes next for some of the big individuals and some of the surprise teams in the league this season and around Europe. Using Football Manager, we're going to look at some of the possible outcomes for some of the mooted and rumoured moves for certain individuals and also for certain teams. But first up, who else to look at but Harry Kane? Another disappointing season for Spurs, once again saw them finish trophyless and also without European football for the first time in something like 13 seasons. Obviously, the Antonio Conte experiment fell to a catastrophic and explosive end after his famous rant in the media after the Southampton game. Christian Cellini did little better, and then Ryan Mason, fair to say he's had a sort of relatively uninspiring spell, second spell as interim coach. Looks like Ange Postecoglou is going to be the one who gets given the job, but his first task surely is going to be convincing Harry Kane that his future lies at Spurs. Now, don't get me wrong, Spurs have so far managed to keep hold of Kane after a bid for him was rejected in the summer of 2021 from Man City. And he seems more than content to stay at Spurs by all accounts. His contract expires in 12 months, but he has obviously long sort of hinted at the fact that he would love to try and win something at Spurs. In fact, I think only the other week he was sort of coming out saying that for him to try and win a trophy at Spurs is like his ultimate goal. It's whether he can do that and whether Daniel Levy will allow that to happen through recruitment, with managerial and in the transfer market in terms of players. But only time will tell. He's got 12 months left on his contract, so it's whether he will sign a new deal or whether Spurs will risk losing him for free in the following summer, or whether they'll let him go now. Obviously, there's been numerous destinations mooted for him. One of them is Manchester United. So, using the Football Manager pre-game editor, we moved Harry Kane to Manchester United. Obviously, this is FM23, and this was in the summer of 2022. So he's 29 years of age at this stage now, going into 2023. Man United have finished their first season, and Harry Kane scored 15 goals in 38 appearances. Now, that's not a terrible return, really. Obviously, you've got to allow for some element of cohesion with embedding into the club and into the squad. Overall, in the Champions League, he managed to get 9 goals in 10 games. Which saw United, still under the stewardship of Ten Hag, get knocked out by Newcastle in the quarterfinals. They were also knocked out in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup and in the Carabao Cup by Norwich. They came 5th in the league. They did finish above Spurs, only on goal difference's old club. Now, a caveat to this, by the way, is what we did do with the pre-game editor is we did completely change the whole sort of database as best as we could as we were going through. You'll notice Burnley, Sheffield and Luton all in the Prem. We put Newcastle into the Champions League as well as Manchester United. Arsenal were in there as well. Liverpool went into the Europa League alongside with Brighton, and Aston Villa went into the Conference League, where it looks like they qualified for that again. But this is, like I said, is all about Kane. So in terms of the United squad as a whole, he averages 7.25 match rating with 7 player of the matches, 11 assists and 25 goals in all competitions, which, as I said, is not a bad return really for his first season at the club. He is currently worth also a whopping 134 to 401 million pounds. So yeah, massive value, as you would expect. And obviously, with him still being in England, he still has the chance to get that all-time goal-scoring record, which he has been gunning for, for quite some time now. And I would be surprised if he doesn't top it. So what we're going to do is we're going to sim another 4 years into the future. So hopefully he'll spend a total of 5 years at the club, assuming he doesn't get sold. And we'll just have to see if he manages to win anything with Manchester United, finally get his hands on an elusive trophy, and see if he does break that record. Well, everyone, this is actually 5 years into the future. So Kane has now spent 6 years at Manchester United. And the reason we did this was because in season 5, he actually got his hands on his first trophy. Not only coming runners-up in the Carabao Cup, he also won the Europa League and then won the Super Cup. So he thought, well, let's give him one more season playing in the Champions League, where they will be knocked out on penalties by eventual Champions League winners Bayern Munich. Also interesting to note that Harry Kane didn't actually start this game. They went with Alejandro Garnacho up top, and that does seem to be a feature of Harry Kane as his seasons have gone on here at United. If we look at his stats, so since that first season, he's not actually broken 20 goals in any in any season, even across all competitions, only managing, 19 goal contributions in his last season alone off 29 starts. I think was the last season, so no, he got 24 goal contributions in his fourth season and 24 again in his fifth. He got 29 in his third season, 18 in his second season. He was actually named club captain the season after he joined, as you can see. He also broke the Man United record for assists in a season with 11, fair enough. But I think actually one thing I did see was, I can't remember if he won a major tournament, a major international tournament. Doesn't look like he did. No, he came third in the Nations League. But yeah, overall, I would say his career at Manchester United has been massively disappointing. Look at that, 53 goals in 213 appearances. That is mainly just in the league, though, if I remember rightly. But overall, 250 goals in the Premier League is pretty poor. Like, at this stage, when you think of the chances he's had in this United team, to not even break 10 league goals in 5 consecutive seasons, I think it's poor by his standards. He could have easily broken Alan Shearer's record by this point, and who knows what it's going to hold in store for him. He's 34 now. At this rate, can you really see him breaking it even just in the next season? Who knows? I arguably think he's going to end up getting sort of shunted down. Ten Hag is still manager, by the way. If we look at the transfer history, it's not like they've not signed players. Like, they spent 126 mil last season. The season before, 301 million. The season before that, 31 million, just on Ethan Ampadu randomly. The season before that, they brought in Renato Sanchez and Gregor Kerbel. And then the season after Kane joined, they signed Asensio, Gabriel Paulista for some reason, Fabian Ruiz, Luis Suarez from Marseille. That's this. Luis Suarez, not of Liverpool. They did actually sign Sanchez on loan before obviously signing him permanently. Samu from Almeria. Some of the signings have been really bizarre, and that's probably why they've sort of struggled, really. But if we look at the club, if we look at like their history, and so Kane joined here 22-23, 5th, 6th, 5th, 6th, 10th. This was the year they won the Europa League, which is why they got Champions League. But in terms of this season, they finished 7th. So you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin there getting 16 goals, finishing level with this Thomas Cano. He looks a decent little player, doesn't he? But yeah, safe to say that his time so far at Manchester United has been a disappointment. Now, with Karim Benzema set to leave Real Madrid this summer, most likely going to Al Ittihad in Saudi Arabia, the biggest club in European football are going to be looking for a new striker, surely. And who else but Harry Kane? He has long been sort of mentioned over the years as a potential Real Madrid signing. It feels like every couple of seasons, Real Madrid look like they might be in need of a new superstar attacker. And Harry Kane is always the name that gets brought up alongside the times of when Mauricio Pochettino was also being linked with the Real Madrid job. So let's see how he got on in his first season. After such a long wait to win a trophy, Harry Kane went on to win 2 in his first season with Real Madrid, winning the La Liga and the Supercopa and becoming runner-up in the Copa del Rey, the UEFA Cup, and once again in the Champions League, where they lost to Bayern Munich 1-0. So to think, in his first season here at Real Madrid, he could have won 3 trophies, two major ones, a La Liga and a Champions League. But how did Kane actually get on? Well, look at that. He came second in the match rating charts for Real Madrid with 27 goals and 10 assists, so a little bit better than in his first season at Manchester United. And he is now worth 87 to 260 million. And obviously, now with him having left England, that chance of breaking Alan Shearer's record for most goals in the Premier League is gone, unless he eventually makes his way back. But I can't see any reason why Real Madrid will want to sell someone who can bang in this number of goals, and hopefully, with a few more seasons under his belt, help them just sweep up every trophy that they can get their hands on. In the Harry Kane Real Madrid universe, safe to say it's been much more of a success for him. Now you may say, oh well, that's no surprise really. He's gone to Real Madrid, the biggest, if not one of the biggest clubs in European football or world football. But don't get me wrong, Manchester United obviously were once at that stage and would obviously very much like to be so. And in real life, let's remember this is all fiction. Manchester United would be hoping that if they did sign Harry Kane to solve their striker issue, that he would be the one to sort of spearhead that charge back up to the elite. But it looks like going to Real Madrid would potentially be, if this was to mirror sort of the potential for real life, which I suppose, let's be honest, we play Football Manager enough, we appreciate that it does. He's won La Liga 5 seasons in a row. So champions. He won the Champions League in this most recent season. He's won the Supercopa. He's won the Copa del Rey. He's won everything that he possibly can, really. He won the Club World Cup, I believe, as well. He's champion, runners up in the Euros again, runners up in the Nations League again. He actually won the World Cup in 2026. It seems like moving to Real Madrid has the potential to be much more successful for Kane, averaging 82 league goals and 166 appearances. Averaging roughly a goal just under every 2 games. If we look at his goals in all comps, so he's had 27 goals in all comps there, 26 there, 28 there, and 17 there. So a little bit of a drop off towards the end, but still, that's in 5 seasons. Look at that average match rating, still doing very, very well. They've still got Don Carlo in charge as well. He is vice captain behind Fede Valverde. He's considered a favoured personnel as well. So he seems to excel in this environment. Who'd have thought it? It's not really that much of a surprise. But Real Madrid in the Football Manager world seems to be a much better move for Kane than Manchester United. Meanwhile, Kane is obviously very much Spurs through and through, and we cannot ignore the possibility that once again he will spend another season at Spurs. Who knows, maybe even sign a new contract. So first off, he'd need a new manager. Now, as of today, Ange Postecoglou has been confirmed as the new Spurs manager. So once again, using the pre-game editor, we put Postecoglou in charge at Spurs. We did it this way rather than using the in-game editor to try and keep the situation as close to real as possible. For those who don't know, if I'd have used the in-game editor to put Postecoglou in charge, it would have sacked Conte, because as of the latest FM updated database, Conte is still the Spurs manager. If I'd have put Postecoglou in, it would have sacked Conte and then would have put Postecoglou in. But obviously that's not really what's actually happened in real life. Obviously what's happened is Conte's been sacked, but since then Spurs have had 2 interim managers, and Postecoglou is essentially coming in clean slate, fresh start. What I didn't want to do is potentially interfere with the running of things by sacking Conte in game to replace him with Postecoglou. So we've done it this way to try and make it more seamless, more close to the real situation as we possibly can. But it's safe to say that Football Manager had other ideas, and more importantly, Football Manager Daniel Levy. So Antonio Conte is back as manager. Now, whether if we'd have sacked him using the editor, it would have played out differently, I don't really know. But they sacked Postecoglou, incidentally on my birthday, after winning 8 games, losing 9 and drawing 3, and replaced him with Antonio Conte, who won 9, drew 5, lost 7. So, safe to say that the Ange Postecoglou experiment didn't really work out. Jermaine Defoe had 2 wins, 2 draws from 4 games, but they've ended up just putting Conte back in charge anyway. And then in terms of what they achieved this season, I think I saw they got to a FA Cup semi-final where they got knocked out by Manchester United in the 3rd round of the Carabao, and came 8th again in the league. 8 points off Everton, incidentally, my team. They've still got Sean Dyche in charge. Go ahead, Sean. Let's just see, just out of interest, who did Everton sign in this summer? Are we not going to find out? They signed Rachid Ghizal and Hamari Traore, Moussa Dembele, which might happen in real life, and Marco Levaya. Okay. But anyway, back to Spurs and Antonio Conte. Yeah, interesting call, really interesting call. But obviously the main thing here is, what has Harry Kane done in this season at Spurs? Well, he's got 17 league goals, which puts him on 200, so he's still 60 off Alan Shearer's record, and that's just after a season. So I honestly don't know how this is going to go for another 4 years here for Harry Kane at Spurs. I assume he signed a new contract. Yeah, his contract is valid until 2026. Yeah, we're going to sim another 4 years ahead and see if this staying at Spurs, he does eventually get his hands on a trophy with them, and also if he breaks Alan Shearer's record. So the 5th season has finished on the sim, and Kane actually managed to win 2 Carabao Cups. So this was still with Conte, and he came 3rd in the World Cup. But yeah, under Conte he managed to win 2 Carabaos. He is currently sat on 254 league goals, so we're going to sim one more season just to see if he can get that final 7 really, to break Alan Shearer's record. The current Spurs manager is Pep Guardiola, and they came 10th in the league, so whether he will still be in charge, who knows. Yeah, be interesting to see if he keeps his job after that. He only took over, to be fair, he actually only took over in January of this season, so it may well be that they'll give him at least a whole season, and who knows what he might be able to achieve. Weirdly enough, in the Partizan save that we've got going, Guardiola actually took the Spurs job as well, and they're actually in the Champions League quite a lot at the moment now. So, yeah, he potentially could be a good hire for them. Potentially could actually help Kane, get some more trophies under his belt. Who knows? But not going to be in the Champions League next season. Yeah, no European football, I think, for Spurs. Is that correct? Oh, I mean, in the Champions League this year, they got knocked out in the semis by Real Madrid. That's unfortunate. But, yeah, no such luck elsewhere. Who else is kicking around in the Prem, just out of interest? It's pretty much as we are at the moment, really. Just Watford, Watford and Leeds all going down. Who are we missing? Bournemouth. Southampton up in the 8th. Not bad. Important to note, actually, as well, that obviously with this database, we did update it so that Southampton, they've still got Ruben Sellers in charge, so that Southampton will have actually started in the Championship at the start of the simulation. So yeah, as I've kind of gone through, I've updated the sort of the database to reflect that. So Brighton will have been in the Champions League, as in the Europa League, as we touched on. Southampton will have been relegated and all that. So yeah, all these sort of sims that you see in from with the United one all have the same start point as a reference. It's just the only difference is that the club that Kane plays for. Obviously, in this instance, for the Spurs one, with Postecoglou being announced today, we've put him in before we've done this rebuild. I kind of held off doing the sim put on the Spurs one just until that got confirmed. Whereas the Man United one and the Real Madrid ones I did over the weekend. So, the 6th season now for Kane here has ended. He's still at Spurs, obviously. He actually came 5th, but did get Champions League football due to the coefficients. And Kane had a relatively average season in terms of goal scoring in the Premier League, but he did get the all-time record. So if you subtract 15 goals he scored in the Championship, 267 goals, I believe that is, in the Premier League. 268 goals in the Premier League. So he breaks Alan Shearer's record, but 2 Carabao Cups. So at the moment, really, Madrid is the best move for Kane in terms of trophy success. Now, we did do one final quick little test. It's a move that has been mooted for a while since Robert Lewandowski left the club last season. But Kane this weekend was reportedly distancing himself from a move to Bayern Munich. But were that to happen, let's see how he could have gotten on. Oh, would you believe it? He once again finds himself under the management of Antonio Conte. How does this keep happening? But anyway, so it has. And I think it's fair to say that we probably would have expected him to have done better at Bayern Munich than he probably has done. He's only broken, 20 goals in the league in one season, and that he got 30 goals in all comps. 28, 14, 21 and 19. Overall, he's got 79 league goals and 150 appearances for Bayern Munich. And what has he won? Well, he's won the Bundesliga. Naturally, let's just strip it right down to competition. So he's won the Bundesliga, he won the Nations League, Super Cup, Bundesliga, Pokal, Super Cup, Bundesliga. Scored the winning goal for England in the World Cup final. Won the Super Cup. And that was it. So basically he's won what? 5 Bundesligas? Super Cup, Bundesliga, Super Cup, Bundesliga, Super Cup. Yeah. And he's won a World Cup and a Nations League. But no Champions League. So he's kind of done what you'd expect him to and what he would probably have expected him to do. So at the moment, really, it's a Real Madrid win. And that's the end of today's video, everyone, on what next. So who do you want to see next, or which team? Basically, this little mini-series is basically just going to be looking at the potential moves that we could see in and around the Premier League or around Europe this summer. Both in terms of individual players, managers, clubs, whatever, you name it. I've got a few ideas as to what we're going to do next, but if you've got anything in particular you want me to look at, drop your comments down below and I will do my best to make it happen. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, everyone. Take care, see you soon, bye for now.